Hello there, Megan here. I want to do this video for those of you who have made your way through the 5-day Beat Your Cravings challenge. And if you haven't had a chance to actually go through every single day and look at the lessons and implement the challenge, that's totally fine. I do not want you to feel like you are behind. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. And it's hard to stick to something for 5 days, let alone learn new information for 5 days. So know that you have those emails at your disposal and you can go through those lessons and implement those challenges whenever you want to prioritize it. But you can still watch this video, you can still learn from what I'm about to walk you through, because if you've even started and done a couple days of the challenge, you might be wondering, okay, what's next? How can I take this deeper, take it further? Maybe you've built some momentum up and you've realized that you felt better in the last 5 days than you have in the last 5 years. And you're like, okay, I want to keep this going. And if you're like most of the women who are ready to actually commit to their health and make the right changes, you're probably wondering, how do you take what you learned and apply it to all other areas of your life so that you can actually permanently eliminate cravings and, as we talked about in the challenge, understand where they're coming from, what they're telling you, and really learn how to nourish your body and support it physically and mentally. Because when we can figure out how to marry those two together, we no longer feel like we're jumping from diet to diet or just trying to restrict certain foods or getting confused by a lot of the information that's out there. So what I'm going to go over are the 7 pillars that you have to master if you want to see this type of transformation. And these are kind of the 7 key pillars or really principles and areas that you can focus on if you want to have permanent, long-term, sustainable results. These are the same pillars that I walk through my one-on-one clients with and that are highly customizable. So that's the nice thing. Within each pillar, you can customize it based on your specific goals. So that's exactly what I'm going to break down for you in this video. And from there, you can actually decide to move forward with this challenge and have the confidence and the clarity, knowing that you can permanently get rid of cravings while also improving your digestion, improving your energy, maybe reaching your body composition goals, balancing your hormones, and supporting your metabolism on a day-to-day basis so food does not feel confusing or overwhelming anymore. And you just feel really, really good in your body and you're completely confident in your food choices, in your health, all the things. So before we look at those 7 pillars, I want to just do a quick little recap and just look at how far you've come. So in the first day challenge, you learned how to start your day off with blood sugar balancing breakfast. And we also talked more about why balancing blood sugar is really the foundation for more steady energy and for eliminating cravings. So you shouldn't be relying on willpower and discipline, but you should be balancing your blood sugar day in and day out. And that's alone going to be a huge game changer. And then from there on day 2, we touched on another common root cause of cravings, which is digestive issues and gut imbalances, and more specifically, dysbiosis. So we went over the first step for fixing digestive issues and bloating, and not only that, but also for figuring out how to be in the right mindset whenever you sit down to eat your meals. So eating in a rest and digest state is really the first step to not only improving digestion, but also realizing when you start to feel full and making sure you're eating enough to keep you full for the next 3 to 4 hours. So that's a really important step as well. And then on day 3, we talked about the importance of mineral support and proper hydration. So we know that just drinking more and more and more water isn't necessarily better. We want to have the right amount of water paired with minerals, and we can get minerals through our water and we can get it through our food as well. So I gave you some examples of how to add more minerals in, and also how minerals support not only your cravings but also your blood sugar and your hormones, and they're really important for healthy gut as well. So they're basically like the spark plugs of our cell. They're super incredible, and we cannot overlook mineral support. And then we talked about on that same day how not eating enough or getting adequate calories can also be causing you to self-sabotage, and they can make cravings, they can make digestion, and they can make a lot of hormonal symptoms actually worse. So for a lot of women, that is a missing piece, and I'll talk about that in the 7 pillars as well. And then on day 4, we talked about customizing your carbohydrates. So We know that eliminating all carbs or trying to restrict them completely is going to lead to self-sabotage and eventually overeating those carbohydrates or completely throwing off your thyroid hormones and slowing down your metabolism. So we know that we want to have carbs, but we want to have the right amount of carbs, and we want to customize those carbs based on our needs. So if you want to lose weight, eliminate cravings, and have a healthy metabolism, you have to customize your carbs. And then on the last day, the 5th day, we touched on food satisfaction. And this is often overlooked because we're told that healthy food has to be boring and we need to eat salads and chicken breast instead of the burger and fries, which would definitely be more enjoyable. So what we want to do is figure out what foods support our goals and taste good, and how can we put them together so that they feel like almost a 10 out of 10 enjoyable. Of course, it's okay if it's not like hitting it out of the park every single time, but you can and should make it a goal to have each food that you're sitting down to eat, like you should be excited about it, and make that at least like an 8 out of 10 enjoyment so that you feel satisfied mentally, and then also physiologically you're getting the protein, the carbs, and the fats that you need. When you focus on real whole foods and you're not eating a lot of the diety foods that are void of the calories and the nutrients that you need, your food becomes more enjoyable. So no sad salads here, and I don't recommend that to any of my clients either. So you'll find that out if we work together. We work on more nourishing meals that are satisfying, 8 out of 10 enjoyable. You can mix and match with different flavors, and they also shouldn't take a long time to prepare either. So you should not be spending like an entire Sunday in the kitchen meal prepping and mapping out your entire week of lunches. There is a method to throw together these things quickly and easily. So last thing I want to touch on, some of the common mistakes in case you missed any of these over the 5 days. So these are the most common mistakes I see women making that are just keeping them stuck. And it's not your fault. This is just what we've been told, and what we've learned in the past from diet industry, even health industry, even, doctors, if you go to them for recommendations around issues you're having with your digestion or your energy levels or your mood. And so some of these most common mistakes include not eating enough and just arbitrarily restricting calories because maybe you want to lose weight or you've gained weight, and so you're restricting calories just indefinitely rather than trying to find your actual calorie sweet spot. So that's one big mistake. We want to find our calorie sweet spot, which is just a slight decrease in calories if you've been in a maintenance calorie phase for long enough. And that slight decrease is not enough to disrupt your digestion and your metabolism and your hormones. The second mistake I see is eliminating all carbohydrates. We know that we don't want to just be completely strictly eliminating all carbs and all sugars. Like, carbs and sugar are your body's preferred source of fuel. They're quick, they're easy, they take stress off the body. So instead, what we have to do is customize that carb intake. The third mistake is trying to rely on willpower and discipline instead of balancing your blood sugar. The next mistake, the fourth one I see, is always eating on the go. So like multitasking, drinking that smoothie while you're driving to work, or, throwing down a quick protein bar before the gym, and being in that fight or flight, go, go, go mode rather than a rest and digest mode. And then the last mistake is thinking that meals have to be boring and plain, and that they're not supposed to be delicious and healthy at the same time. So, and that they take a long time to cook, because they don't. So you can make them enjoyable, you can make them quick and easy to throw together. So those are some of the mistakes we touched on over the 5 days as well. And now that you know how important it is to not make these mistakes, to balance your blood sugar, to listen to your cravings and what your body's telling you, to actually properly fuel your body rather than living in this state of like deprivation and restriction and eliminations, we want to eat for nourishment and not restriction. Now that you're clear on all of this, I want to give you the actual full big picture so you know exactly what to focus on, and also what to avoid whenever you go along this health journey and you really start to customize this blueprint for yourself. And this blueprint can be customized based on your goals. So keep that in mind as we go through each step. Okay, so let's get into it. So step one is to assess and collect. So in order to make progress to where we want to, we need to know kind of where we're starting. So what gets measured gets managed. And I see a lot of women make the mistake of only using the scale to measure progress and only using quote unquote good foods and bad food categories to determine their success. So if you're doing this, you're stepping on the scale, using that to decide whether what you're doing is working or not working. Or if you're going through the day and determining if that day was successful based on how good you were or how many of the healthy versus unhealthy foods you chose, you're going to continue to stay stuck. So in order to assess, we need to figure out what's going on from a metabolic and hormonal standpoint. As women, it's really important to be in tune with all of these different signs and symptoms of a well-nourished body. So this includes things like your body temperature, your menstrual cycle, your mood, your hunger levels, your appetite, your energy, your sleep, how well you actually handle stress and can react to stressors, your digestion. You should be having 1 to 3 bowel movements every single day. So lots of things to look at when it comes to actually assessing and measuring where you are health-wise. And if you have body composition goals, you can still reach those body composition goals while paying attention to all of these different pieces of biofeedback. So one acronym that I really like to use with my clients is called SHREDS, and it stands for sleep, hunger, recovery, which is recovery from your workouts, energy levels, SHRE, energy levels, D, digestion, and then S is stress. So you're rating how well you can handle stress on a regular basis. And then we can also add in then for menstruating women, you can add in menstrual cycle and libido. So all of those are really important things to assess. And from there, we start to collect data, like how are we feeling on a regular basis? And that collect can also look like keeping a food mood journal, figuring out if you're eating enough calories on a regular basis, figuring out what foods might cause certain symptoms, whether that's like brain fog or bloating, or maybe you don't sleep as well on a night where you ate something differently during the day. So all of these assessment and collection tools will help to set a good baseline and a good foundation for what you're going to measure as you implement the rest of the roadmap. So we have to start. We can't just jump into something without knowing where we're starting or knowing what we're actually keeping track on, because stepping on the scale day in and day out, or just kind of subjectively deciding if it was a good or bad day, again, is going to keep you stuck, and it's never going to teach you actually what works well for you and your female physiology. All right, so step number 2, so that was pillar 1, assess and collect. Pillar number 2 is going to be nourishing food foundations. So in the challenge, I shared with you the pyramid, which basically goes over what the nourishing food foundations look like in order of prioritization. So we have quality foods at the bottom. That's going to be really important, and getting clear on what nutrient dense foods look like, because it's not quinoa bowls, it's not smoothie bowls, it's not chicken breasts, right? There's a lot more to nutrient density than that. And some women are surprised whenever they learn this. And so sometimes it can take a little bit of unlearning and relearning, like what really are good quality foods. And then once you know, you can start implementing those changes. So quality is going to be at the foundation. And then secondary to that is going to be quantity. So again, I see a lot of women make the mistake of too much calorie restriction. It's just not eating enough calories consistently, and then maybe they are overeating at some points in time, but they're not eating enough regularly. They're not finding that calorie sweet spot throughout the day. So that's really important, is that quantity and finding your calorie sweet spot based on your goals. And then next up, we have macronutrients and micronutrients, which includes the minerals that we talked about. So making sure you're getting in mineral-rich foods, you're hydrating properly, and you're balancing out your macronutrients, your protein, your carbs, your fats, and you're customizing those based on your needs. So everybody is a little bit different whenever it comes to the type of carbohydrates that they can handle and the amount of carbohydrates they can handle and the time of day that they might want to have carbs. So that's a really important area to work on customizing. And then next up on that pyramid, we have making it enjoyable. So again, this is a key piece of the puzzle, because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to want to stick to it, and you're going to end up eating those foods that do actually satisfy you, and they might not be the foods that support your goals. So we want to make sure that the foods that support your goals are also the enjoyable foods. And then at the tippy top of the pyramid, we have supplement support, which should be very targeted based on your deficiencies and your needs. You don't just want to do a random probiotic or a random multivitamin. And then also adding in some beneficial superfoods, right? So that's like the trendy word for it, but foods that are just super, super nutrient dense, really good for your thyroid hormones, really good for your gut health and different things kind of more specific to your goals. So again, this Nourishing Food Foundations takes the most time to work through because it takes a little bit of unlearning first and also questioning your beliefs on what is good and what is bad, and what determines success in terms of your food and what's on your plate. And we want to get really clear on what nourishing your body really looks like, which can take a little bit of practice. Okay, so pillar number 3 is balancing blood sugar. If you've done any of the 5-day challenge, you have already started to be a professional on this topic. So balancing blood sugar, I like to break it down into 5 components. So we have balancing your plate, protein, fat, and fiber, which is what we touched on in the 5-day challenge, what's on your plate, and then customizing your carbs. So that's the second part of it. So with customizing your carbs, again, you want to figure out the right type, the right amount based on your goals. So that's the second part, and also something that's on your plate. And then we have meal timing. So with meal timing, we want to make sure we're eating 3 solid meals. We'll save intermittent fasting topic for a different time, but the goal is to have those 3 solid nourishing meals first before messing with that eating window. I recommend eating breakfast, especially if you want to eliminate cravings and support your hormones. So we want to have 3 solid meals, and we want to snack when we're hungry. So that's going to be really supportive of blood sugar balance. So those are the things that are involved with your plate. And then beyond that, we have the non-food things that support your blood sugar balance. So getting adequate sunlight, getting quality sleep, and the third S, sleep, sunlight, and stress. We want to make sure that we're reducing stressors where we can, and then also supporting our body's ability to respond to stressors. And then the 5th component is exercise and movement, which yes, it does impact your blood sugar. Even if you're not eating anything, exercise does have an influence on your blood sugar. So we want to make sure we're doing the right type of exercise. We don't want to be doing a ton of cardio. We want to make sure that we're focusing on blood sugar balancing friendly and muscle building activities. So balancing blood sugar, again, there's those different 5 components that we work through, and we figure out how can we go through our day and feel balanced on a regular basis and know exactly what that feels like. Okay, so pillar number 4 is to support digestion and gut health. Even if you don't have actual obvious digestive issues, this is something that's a non-negotiable for long-term health. And what I see women doing, especially if they do have either some bloating or gas or constipation, cramping, things that are like super like uncomfortable on a regular basis, and they become more and more chronic the older we get, is they're just eliminating foods. So they're following a restricted diet, they're taking random probiotics, maybe they're getting tests run by their doctor just to look to see like what's wrong with them. And this is going about it all wrong. So that's why with my one-on-one clients, we do a deep dive into the digestion and gut health side of things. And we make sure that we're customizing a plan that does not involve a lot of restriction, because that can then make your body's ability to break down those foods even worse. And then you'll have more digestive issues and more food intolerances. So really having a step-by-step system for supporting your digestion and gut health, having regular bowel movements every single day, and not experiencing any bloating or gas or reflux. We want to make sure that we're feeling good on a regular basis digestion-wise. Okay, pillar number 5 is to evaluate and lower stressors that are in your control. So we can't just breathe our way out of stress, right? We can't just like meditate, take a bubble bath, get a massage, and the stress is gone. We have to learn how to navigate stressors on a regular basis. And we can do this by figuring out what actually is stress. Where is it coming from? Is that fasting for, overnight up until 12 o'clock noon while drinking coffee, while working out, while in meetings, is that a stressor on your body? Answer is highly likely yes. So we look at those types of stressors that are in our control, get really clear on what stress looks like, which is basically an energy demand on the body. So when we feel stress, we notice, changes in our desire for certain foods. And then it also influences your cortisol levels, which will then influence your other hormones, which shuts down your digestive system. So we want to make sure that we are evaluating stress, lowering what's in our control, and then also supporting our body so that it can better handle stressors, so that you feel well equipped to, if something does come up, you're not super reactive and anxious, and you can actually handle it well. Okay, step number 6, or pillar number 6, is to prioritize restorative and consistent sleep. I cannot emphasize the importance of sleep enough. This is really probably where everything begins. Like, if you want to be a healthier person, you have to prioritize restorative and consistent sleep. And in order to do this, the first thing to start with is dialing in on your morning and evening routine. So sunlight first thing in the morning and having an evening routine that limits a lot of blue light is a great place to start. There are more layers to it, especially if you're somebody who has felt like you always struggle with sleep. But there are definitely solutions to even chronic sleep problems. So prioritizing sleep and making sure you're getting solid, consistent sleep is going to be really important. And then pillar number 7 is kind of the last thing we have not talked about, which is proper movement and workouts. And notice I said proper movement, not more movement or more exercise or more intensity. For a lot of women, especially the go sort of type A women, they're usually doing too much of the wrong exercise and not allowing their body time to recover. And then they're not moving throughout the day. So maybe they hit it hard at the CrossFit or Orange Theory for 1 hour, and then they're sitting the rest of the day. So we want to make sure that we're incorporating the right types of movements, and we know what our body needs because we listen to it. We know when to push, when to relax. We know when to strength train. We know when to go for walks, when to do cardio. All of those things should be customized and work in a way that supports your female metabolism, your female hormones, manages your cravings, your hunger, and your body composition goals. So that's the ultimate goal. All right, so those are the 7 pillars. So I'll recap quickly. It's number 1, assess and collect. Number 2, nourishing food foundations. Number 3, balance blood sugar. Number 4, support digestion and gut health. Number 5 is evaluate and lower stressors that are in your control. Number 6 is prioritize sleep. And number 7 is proper movement and customized workouts. So now that you have all of this, you can decide what to do with it. If you want to work together one-on-one to come up with a customized plan, then I will put a link to book a free strategy session with me. We can talk more about what that looks like. Or if you want to take this and you feel like you're good on your own and you're able to start implementing the steps from each of these categories, then I would love it if you could implement that yourself. So whatever you decide, I know that you are the type of person who is committed and you are here. You've watched this entire video, so I know you're prioritizing your health, and I want to support you in the best way possible. So let me know if you have any questions at all. And again, I would love to chat with you more inside the free strategy session. So be sure to book that if you feel like you're ready for it. Okay, bye.